Hey, I'm Lynn Hale with New Life Legacy Farm, and I'm here with a very dear friend of mine that I am excited just to sit here and have a conversation about, and for her to share some of her knowledge that she has. She has just helped me out a lot on my health journey and just with healing and introduced me to things. And one of the things that she introduced me to that has really helped me just for my own health journey and for my family's was the GAPS diet, which I don't know. I know a lot of people probably are not familiar with that. I was not familiar with that. But let's backtrack a little bit. And before you were even introduced into the GAPS diet, you were actually a vegetarian.
We were eating vegan actually at the time, so no meat, no gluten, and no dairy.
Okay, so that's interesting. So tell me what happened? What made you change from being a vegetarian?
Yeah. So our son was severely sick. His stomach we had no idea what was going on, but he was throwing up often, despite the fact that we were not eating meat and not eating gluten and not eating dairy, all the things. And actually found a couple of articles talking about raw milk and how that could help him with his gut. We started doing raw goat's milk, and we started immediately to see just benefits in his digestive system. And so then that led us kind of down this trail of like, okay, if that was helpful, what else could be helpful? And we just started down a path to gut healing.
Okay, so yeah, she talked about raw milk. She is actually the one who introduced me to raw milk. I was seeing a chiropractor at the time, and he was not really for raw milk. So, but anyway, I decided to try it anyway. But
You're a rebel.
Yes, but actually who we got our dairy cow from, Maggie, we actually got her from the lady that Erica introduced me to. So that's all kind of cool and interesting. So how long ago? So you were a vegetarian, then you were introduced to raw milk, and then where'd you go from there?
We also had a good friend that was healing her own gut, her own autoimmune Hashimoto's, through the paleo diet. And so I was very intrigued by that, and we started, just heading in that direction. We already knew that eliminating or adding things into our diet had the ability to heal, and we just weren't quite nailed down on what that looked like at the time. And so we started slowly transitioning to a paleo diet, which we saw benefit from with our son too, but there was still just this underlying, he'd be okay for 6 months, and then he would start to react to the food that he was eating then, and we just could not get a grasp on what was going on in his sweet little gut.
So is that, you told me, then you actually went to a Weston A. Price conference.
Yeah, some friends, after we made a big move to a new place, just getting our footing, and several people that knew about his digestive system started mentioning to us about this diet, the GAPS diet, like several people all at one time. And it was kind of like, you couldn't ignore it when there were several people. And then the Lord made way for us to go to a Wise Traditions conference where I learned about the GAPS diet and all the healing properties of actually healing and sealing the gut lining, and like starting to understand why he would be okay for 6 months, 3 months, and then he would fall back off the wagon because his stomach would never fully heal from the holes in his gut until we did the extended GAPS diet.
Okay, so you went to this conference, and so you probably came home and you were so excited.
I was extremely overwhelmed.
Or overwhelmed. It's probably like.
Excited at the hope of it, because there was mom after mom after mom. Not just moms, but I guess where I was, that's who I heard, was the mom saying, our daughter, our son, our kids healed from this diet, and to think that our son could live a more normal life without having to put a bunch of drugs in his system or go get shots every day or things like that was just like mind-boggling.
So
to
yeah, I
us.
guess so you left with excitement, but you left with hope. Something that
For sure.
you had probably started kind of being like, now where do I go from here?
Yeah, and the knowledge that it wasn't just food. Food was this major component, but what we learned from going to the conference and really diving into the GAPS diet was that it was a lifestyle. And it required more change than just what was going in our mouths, like on our body or in our houses or so it was, we were already dabbling, we already understood kind of the foundational component of it, but then it was like, what does it practically look like?
Right. So how long? So I know that y'all did the full GAPS diet for 1 year.
We did.
How far between the conference and then you actually started the full GAPS diet? How long was that?
I don't know about the conference, but I know from when we learned about it and were entertaining the idea, even though I was saying, I'm not doing that, that's crazy, there's no way I can do that, to when we actually started, I think was about a year process of preparing. Some wise mentors suggested, well, why don't you just start adding sauerkraut? Why don't you just take out grain? Why don't you, just this slow staggered, so by the time we get there, it wasn't this, and it needs preparation. I sit down with numerous families that say, I think I want to do the GAPS diet. And we're like, that's great. That's great that you want to do it. I'm really excited. And I know you know all the head knowledge, but it does take preparation and it's a lot.
Right. It is a lot. I remember I went, it was on their second month they were doing, so they actually work for Family Life Ministry, and they were at a Weekend to Remember marriage conference, and I was kind of helping out with the kids on that weekend, and so this was their second month into the full GAPS diet. And I remember when I was there and like seeing, what she was doing, I was kind of like,
so we were staying in a hotel room. We literally have 2 crock pots going. We have this ginormous cooler that like fit the entire back of the van, where I had made tons of freezer meals in these gallon bags that were frozen. But you know what, like every step of the way, it was just the Lord saying, like, just take the next step, just take the next step, just take the next step. And it was one of the hardest things that we've ever done. So our entire family of 5 at the time, did not eat any food other than the food that was cooked in our kitchen for an entire year. And I mean, we traveled several times for several weeks.
Like states, like, and when she says travel, she didn't mean, oh, we just went and traveled to like, a couple hours away. She meant like.
And let me tell you, I'm not a cook. Like, I didn't grow up living on the homestead, or, I lived with a single mom for a lot of my life, and we were meals on the go between several jobs. And so I didn't know how to cook. So that was kind of that year of preparation too, was like learning what you do with a whole chicken. Like, go to the store or the farm, preferably the farm, coming home with a whole chicken and like how to cut it and what all the parts were. And it took preparation. So I just say that if you're watching this and you're even slightly considering it, you can do it. You totally can. Prepare, read everything you can, watch videos, see if you can find somebody that has done the GAPS diet and have them walk alongside with you.
Somebody who might be watching this and is not familiar with the GAPS diet at all, what would you say it is?
Yeah. So
what's the, I guess maybe the backbone to it? I know a lot of y'all did like broths, broth soup, a lot of ferments. You could, what else did, so what did like a day look like for you guys, especially like at the beginning?
Sure. If you don't mind me sharing too, I'm going to just tell you what GAPS means.
Yes, that would
Gut
really...
and psychology syndrome. So a lot of people think that the GAPS diet is just for people that have Crohn's issues, or people that have, but also people that are struggling with diabetes and depression and anxiety and dyslexia and schizophrenia are finding healing from this. So the backbone is that you have essentially holes in your gut, and food is getting into your bloodstream and causing reactions in your body. For us, for Gabe, that was food allergies. For other people, it may be digestive, it may be social emotional, it may be learning disability. But yes, for us, it looked like making and drinking a lot of bone broth and chicken stock, a lot of ferments, so sauerkraut, homemade yogurt, which I don't know about for y'all, but for me it was like, you can make yogurt at home? That's supposed to come in these little packs from the grocery store. And yes, it is much easier than it sounds at first. Lots of soups, meats, vegetables, and some fruits, no grain, no sugar. We did a little bit of raw local honey every now and then. Yeah, that's basically what it looks like, which sounds not so daunting until you realize how
I
much.
don't know, that does kind of, I mean, I would talk to you, and you would have like, you always had crock pots going.
I still kind of always have something going.
So how is Gabe now? So Gabe is her son that she's talking about, and Gabe is 11?
11.
Yeah, so Gabe is 11 now. So how is Gabe now? What has been the transition, the change that you've seen since you did the GAP stat with Gabe?
Yes, we did 1 full year. And guys, when I say food allergies, I'm talking just like what you've experienced. EpiPen in hand. Don't let him go anywhere. Forbid the childcare worker at church to give him anything. That's what we're talking about. And going from that to the day after the full year, sitting with an EpiPen in one hand, tears in my eyes, and homemade peanut butter cookies in the other to test this dang thing. Did it work? And him eating peanut butter for the 3rd time in his life, because the first 2 times he had reactions, with a smile, with no digestive issues, it was just amazing. And even in the middle of the GAPS diet, you start to see healing. Like, he couldn't eat eggs, but after 3 months, eggs were added back into his diet, and he did like amazing. And so it's not just like, okay, you're not going to see anything for a solid year. Some people may have that. And I just say too that Gabe was young. He was like 4 and 5. So his gut only had that much damage, versus when adults step into GAPS, it may take more than a year. But I know for us, even we weren't seeing extreme issues in our lives, but we benefited tremendously from doing the diet ourselves. But he freely eats what he wants now. I say we have so much knowledge now that we don't want him to, and most of the time he doesn't want to just eat whatever, but he can have the freedom to go to a birthday party or to have a slice of pizza when he's at a friend's house, which is a really good balance we're still trying to find several years after being off the diet.
And one thing I want to also say to, if there's any moms, dads, anybody watching this, that I know that sometimes when you're looking at the GAPS diet, and it may seem a little scary and intimidating at first, Erica did it, but she didn't just have Gabe when she was doing this. She had 2 other younger kids, younger than Gabe, and she got pregnant, like
right afterwards.
Yeah, like somewhere in the middle of all of this.
It's true.
So they did it, and you can do it. And I know that there's so many times that we may go to our pediatricians, and the pediatrician is like, the only answer is some kind of pharmaceutical or allergy shots, and that's not true. I know this is another story, but one with my 4-year-old now, Laura Jane, she was covered in eczema, like literally from head to toe, and the pediatrician told me, like, this is terrible, you have got to go start getting her allergy shots. And I thought in my head, I said, there's no way, I'm not going to start doing that right now. But and I have supplements that I did with her, and just totally diet change that and I just had to be really strict with what she ate. And no, it's not always fun, and yes, it looks a little different than mainstream, and you just kind of get to the point that you're okay with that. I'm okay with that, and Erica's okay with that. And
and I think even, I don't know if this is how you were with Laura Jane. She was a lot younger, but just being really honest with our kids about like, hey, we're doing this for our long-term health. You know, we live in a culture of instant gratification.
Yeah.
And so just helping them look forward to the future of, hey, what if you could go in and eat at a pizza restaurant,
Yeah.
you know, once every 6 months or whatever, without it throwing your system for a loop. And so just helping them project forward. And I know for our family, like just asking the Lord to sustain us and keep us sustained through the thing to the next step has been one of the most beneficial learning experiences of our journey.
So, well, I hope this has been helpful and encouraging to somebody. And if you're watching this and this may be all new, if you have any questions, I know you can. I will leave my email is in the link. And if you have any questions for Erica, I think I can probably get in touch with her. And I just love hearing, you know, so funny, you know, hearing people like me or Erica, you know, we may do things a little bit different, but y'all, I'm telling you, if you'll just go and talk to those moms and find out their story, there's always a why behind what they're doing, and they're normally really super passionate about it. So I hope this has been encouraging. Do you have any last minute thoughts you want to share?
I don't. If you want to find out more about the GAPS diet in general, you can find that on the Wise Traditions website. Natasha Campbell McBride is the author of the book. Your local library will have it. I suggest you read it 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And that's it.
So anyway, thank you for watching. And thank you, dear friend. So thank you.